locally, and it's free range and just delicious. And it's available in all 4 of our locations around the Portland, Oregon area. Today, we're going to be looking at making some kebabs with the chicken, and this recipe is really nice and simple and packed with a lot of flavor, a lot of garlic. And so if you love garlic, you're in the right place. If you have if you're a vampire, you might want to run. Because we're looking at garlic and we're looking at wooden stakes, although these are very small, probably not too dangerous, but maybe still effective. I don't know. Anyway, so I have these wooden or bamboo skewers, and when I have them soaking in some water here, and that's a good first step to kind of get moving. And that's simply so your skewers don't catch on fire. You can, of course, use a metal skewer will work, and will also not catch on fire. So we've got some skewers, and I've got some chicken, which we'll cut up in a second. But first, I'd like to go through the marinade. So got your skewers soaking, and then let's have a look at this lovely marinade. So this is a yogurt marinade. Yogurt does a couple really nice things with meat. It will tenderize the meat as it marinates. And so some marinades have like some citrus or a lot of citrus or some vinegar and stuff. And those components can tend to actually toughen the meat, whereas yogurt really tenderizes it, and it has just some properties there that give the meat a lovely texture, and then also flavor, of course. And you'll get some caramelization off of the yogurt from the natural sugars that are in there from the milk. So I'm using just a whole milk yogurt here. You could use Greek yogurt, but you might want to add a little extra lemon juice or a little water to thin it out, because you want it to really coat the pieces of chicken. So I put a cup of yogurt in there, and now we're going to go ahead, and I've got a Walla Walla sweet onion here, and we're going to put that into our marinade. I always like to show a nice technique for cutting an onion. Of course, grabbing my chef's knife at the blade right where the handle starts there with my thumb and forefinger, utilizing the claw grip in order to really grasp that onion. I'm going to take off the stem end, and I have here my handy compost bowl. It's always good to have a compost bowl on your counter when you're dealing with a lot of veggies. Then we're going to look at the root end, which has a little hairy area here, and we're just going to slice right through the center, and we only need half the onion for this marinade. And then it should peel really easily for us. Just take that first layer off, and then leaving the stem on, you can slice the onion into thin strips right to that root end, and the root will hold that onion together and allow us to cut across and make a really nice small dice for the marinade. So you can see how that just cubes right up, and you can even use that stem end as sort of a nice little handle. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put that right in the marinade bowl. And again, there's a few components to this dish, but they're all really simple. And what's so great is the flavor is just really straightforward, and you can taste all of the elements. So I have a little mint, or we're going to put quite a good whack of mint in here, a 1/4 cup. So if you have a mint plant in your yard, you're all set, or maybe your neighbor has some that they will share with you. But mint is a really great thing to grow in your yard and maybe in a pot because it really likes to spread. But it's useful for so many things, and it just smells great, of course. And a good way to store your mint is in a jar and a little bit of water, and you can either you can do that in your refrigerator or just on the countertop, and that keeps the mint nice and fresh. And that's true of all herbs. Basil, same thing. Just a little jar of water and put the stem end in there, trim them a little bit, and it'll suck that water right up. So I'm just taking the leaves off the stem, and then I'm going to see how much I've got here. So again, safe handling of my knife, clawing it, a little bit of claw there, and just rolling through these mint leaves. And here, just going to kind of keep the tip end of your knife down and go back and forth several times and get it cut pretty nice and fine so that it will coat all of your chicken evenly. And so with a marinade like this, yeah, you just want all the different ingredients to be evenly dispersed across the meat. And so we'll throw that in there. And there's our mint. Now, next we're going to look at some garlic. So that was a quarter cup of mint. I forgot to measure, but I know it was. This much is a quarter cup. Anyway, let's see here. We're going to go for some garlic. I've got 4 garlic cloves in this. So one neat little trick with the garlic is I soak it in a little bit of warm water. And so I just have a couple to demonstrate that. So it can even be just a couple minutes, or if you know, like with this recipe, when we get to the sauce, the garlic sauce, it's like 12 cloves of garlic. So you can plan ahead and get those soaking a little bit ahead of time. And what happens with the soaking is it pops. You know how garlic can be a little bit sticky on the fingers and stuff, and this way the skin pops right off quite easily. And what I like to do is just smash the garlic down with the side of my knife, and then the skin will pop right off, and that is the garlic. And you always want to look for the the little stem end on these, and you can chop those off as well. So that's 2 cloves, and we're going to do 2 more. And with the garlic, again, you can treat this garlic if you want a little bit like the onion, and go ahead and carefully slice it lengthwise and then across, and that gets you to a mince a little quicker. Or you can just rough chop like this, and that works as well. You just go through it. You want to get a nice chopped garlic, minced, close to mince. I'm going to kind of rush it a little bit here to keep our timeline going. All right, so here we go. Some garlic, 4 cloves, and that goes into the marinade. And then I believe it's some olive oil, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, which I have measured out here, 2 tablespoons. That goes into our marinade. And then I have a whisk, which I like to stir this up with. And this is about the consistency we want. And again, this is just a whole milk yogurt. And I have done this recipe with Greek yogurt, and you can add a little, like I mentioned, lemon juice. So we can add a little extra lemon juice if you want it a little looser. If you're using, say, if you just have some Greek yogurt on hand, and that's what you're going to utilize, use whatever yogurt you've got opened, of course, if you have one. Now, half a lemon, so our juice of half a lemon. And I have this, I really don't, I don't make any profit off of this thing, but I have sold a few of these from doing this, video stuff, because people are like, oh, that's really a cool squeezer, and these are available at our stores. This is just a citrus squeeze deal, and it really gets all the juice out. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, of course, you can use the original citrus squeezer is that. And one neat trick with that, if you are just using your hand, if you hold it like this, flat side up, cut side up, and squeeze it, and then the seeds will stay in. All right, what's next? We have, now we can give it a quick whisk, and then the chicken. So you can see once that lemon juice is in there, it does really loosen up nicely. Okay, now let's grab that chicken. So I have the Aurora Valley chicken, and we're going to be using the thighs here. Why chicken thighs? Well, chicken thighs, and pardon the glove, but I am going to glove up just so I can keep everything sanitary. Of course, if you're handling poultry, you want to be careful and always wash your hands and surfaces after handling the poultry. And don't cross-contaminate your cutting board. So I brought out the separate cutting board to use for the chicken. And then we'll be cutting vegetables on the board underneath. Anyway, so we're using chicken thigh because it has a good rich flavor, and it tends to stay a little moister. You could use a chicken breast with this recipe. Just got to watch it from drying out. Anytime you're grilling chicken breast, especially when it's been cut up, it can tend to dry out a little bit. Whereas the thigh will really stay nice and juicy for you. Okay, so what I did there is I just cleaned it up a little bit. There is, because it is the thigh and it does have some great fat in there, you want to just cut off a little bit of the excess, right? And then again, just clean off. And one thing, this stuff, the fat will burn off and it'll cause flare-ups in your grill. Now, as far as the grill goes, this is an ideal recipe for outdoor grilling, whether it be a gas grill or a charcoal grill. I really go back and forth on those. Right now I'm doing charcoal, and I really have been enjoying that for several years. For a while I did have a gas grill, and I also, I like a lot about the gas grill. Mainly it's real easy just to start it up, and you have that even heat without worrying about what your coals are doing and all that. So but there's something really fun about actually playing with fire and having a little interaction with that, the original cooking method, right? Just over an open flame. And I really like that lump charcoal is very nice. It gives you some good flavor as well. But for tonight, I'm utilizing this cool grill skillet, which gives you, it actually gives you some grill flavor, and it definitely gives you the markings. And so this is a pretty neat little tool, and this is just a cast iron grill skillet, and I have it on an induction burner here. You could, of course, have it on any sort of burner. And then I'm just cutting the chicken into about 2-inch squares or so. I mean, it is a natural meat, so it's not all going to be perfectly square, but you just kind of want, with something like a kebab, you want to have everything sort of in a similar size, so it cooks evenly, and that'll give you even cooking when it comes to that. Okay, so here we go. We're just going to go ahead and put that chicken in the marinade. And so you want to let this marinade at least 4 hours. I cover this, put it in a refrigerator, and go for 4 hours, ideally overnight. And that's how I feel about just about every marinade. If you can do it overnight, you're in really good shape. Okay, so and I need to mention, if you have questions or comments, please shoot them at me, and I have someone here who can read them to me, and I will do my best to answer any questions or address any comments as we move along. Okay, now you'll see in that marinade, there's some salt and pepper are also on the list there in your recipe, and those are going to go on after we skewer them up and right before we put them on the grill. We're going to salt and pepper. Okay, next, the sauce. So let's go ahead and do this sauce real quick. This is a super cool sauce, and it's good for all kinds of stuff. It's very garlicky. It's a really nice garlic sauce. But we're going to use 12 cloves of garlic in this sucker. So it's pretty easy to make. You just throw everything in here up to the oil, and then we're going to drizzle the oil in. And so in a deal like this, when you're blending a sauce or a dressing, we're going to be homogenizing. So that's why you want to drizzle the oil in slowly at the end. Same way we do with a salad dressing, something like that, okay? So I've already peeled, I soaked these and then peeled them. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 cloves of garlic. So yeah, that smells great. Okay, so we'll 12 cloves of garlic, and then we're going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which is basically a good pinch. And this recipe says coarse salt, and by that we mean kosher salt. That's not we should change that on this recipe. We want to say, or I want you to think when you see on our recipes coarse salt, we're actually talking kosher salt. And I think we've been putting kosher salt in our recipes lately, and that's a little bit of a misnomer. Just not that kosher salt is not coarse, but coarse salt is a whole different animal, and kosher salt is my preferred cooking salt, and it's actually koshered by cooking it, and that makes it distribute more evenly in your recipes. But here I want you to remember that's kosher salt, okay? And then we're going to put the lemon juice in there. And here I've got a fresh knife, clean knife, no chicken juice on there. And luckily I have a knife fairy lurking around, and it's what we all need. So again, I think I'm going to squeeze. This is such a large lemon. It's like an orange. This should be plenty juicy. Choose a compost with you. And then another one. Ooh. Watch your eyeballs. And okay, so we've got the lemon juice in there. A quarter cup of water. So I have a 1/4 cup of water measured out. That's going in there. Okay, you can see super simple, right? And then here we're going to make some noise and get this going. Now I'm going to drizzle in the oil, and this is where the magic should happen. And we should see some thickening. So I'm just drizzling. Slow drizzle. And you can hear it thickening, right? And this is also like how to make a mayonnaise, something like that. Nice little good old homogenization. Um, so we wanted to get to the consistency of thick cream. I'm turning it up a little bit. You can hear it. I'm going to take a peek. All right, and so on a recipe, this says 5 to 7 minutes, and I'm going to cut it short just for time, but you know what? It looks pretty good already, so I think we're in fine shape for a sauce. But at home, you could go a little longer and get it nice and thick. And then, of course, if you want it thinner, if it's getting too thick, you can always use water to thin it out. And water is just a really great cooking medium. It's important for all kinds of stuff, and definitely for making sauces, water is very nice for getting that consistency right. I think we have a question.
We do. Chef Sam would like to know, Rosabelle would like to know if you have reconstituted lemon juice instead of a fresh lemon, how much lemon juice should you use?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the question is,
how much juice in a lemon really is the sort of the question. And generally, an average like this was a pretty large lemon, right? But in general, a lemon will give you about half a cup of juice. So for half a lemon, it would be a quarter cup. For the whole lemon, it will be half a cup, and that's your average lemon. Here, let's test my theory. Yeah. So I mean, this was a quarter cup, and that's half a lemon. So there you go. Thank you for that question, and please, everyone, feel free to ask more questions. And I'm going to just continue rolling along here. Ooh, let's just look at this sauce. So yeah, see, that's a really nice consistency. That's what we wanted, and I'm not going to taste. I'm not going to taste it till the end here, right? Okay, let's look. But you should taste yours, and if you want to add a little more salt or something like that, feel free. As long as it's kosher salt. Okay, for the veggies, we're looking at. So again, vegetables are just awesome on the grill, and so what we're going to do with these vegetables is we're going to lightly oil them. And again, I'm going to be using a neutral oil, and you'll notice on the recipe, again, these recipes, the beautiful recipe cards are available in all 4 of our locations, the Basics Fit locations, as well as online, basicsmarket.com. We have all our library of recipes so far, and these classes that go along with the recipes, and some skills that go along with both the classes and the recipes. So please, if you feel like it, have a look at basicsmarket.com. We have a lot of great stuff there for you to cook. I think we have another question. Yes.
yeah, Rosabelle would like to know, how long will the sauce keep?
Oh, that's a neat question. Well, this sauce, again, back to the oil, since it's just oil and garlic and water, and salt, I would feel really comfortable with a week, and even beyond, but I don't, refrigerate it and in a sealed container. But for sure, a week, 7 days, you're good with this. But yeah, neutral oil is simply an oil that doesn't carry flavor with it. So we use olive oil in our chicken marinade, but for the rest of this recipe, we're using neutral oils. And I'm using avocado oil, and I like the avocado oil. It has a good smooth finish. it's rich and it has a really high heat smoke point, it's called, so it goes to 500 degrees. And so for grilling, it's ideal. Whereas we have olive oil in the marinade, but it's not actually going to be dripping onto our grill and stuff, which would cause a lot of smoke. So when you're applying oil directly to the grill or directly to the vegetables, which are going directly on the grill, a neutral oil is good. Like a canola oil is another one, grapeseed oil, safflower oil. These are all neutral oils. Okay, so what we're going to do is coat the veggies in our neutral oil, and that's actually my grill oil there. And then we're going to put a little salt and pepper and just get them ready for the grill. So let's go ahead, and we've got 2 sweet peppers. So sweet pepper is also called a bell pepper. And a neat way to get into your bell pepper is cut the ends off and stem end and top end there. And then you've got your seed pack right there. And you can just pop that right out. And that gets us almost all the way clean. These deals are, you can use this stuff as well. This is the top and bottom end. And with this one, it's in nice lobes. So that works pretty well. And then for the remainder, you just want to cut down next to one of those ribs. And then you can cut across and pop the ribs right out. And then you get all that pithy stuff out, and that stuff's just a little bit bitter, you know. And then we can go ahead and cut it into our, I think we are asked here to do like 2-inch pieces, you know, so something that's going to look kind of good on the skewer there. And I'm going to go ahead and leave and use this as well. So there's one, I do another one, you know, you will do another one, but I'm just doing the one for the purpose of our demonstration and the short time we have together on this lovely evening. So mushrooms. So mushrooms, you know, the caps. So mushroom, neither a plant nor an animal, but its own kingdom. The fungus kingdom, fungi kingdom is the largest kingdom in the world, the most populated. So really mushrooms do rule the world, and there is evidence that we have mushrooms in us. I'm not going to get too involved in that, but look that up. It's pretty wild. So mushrooms are always the first guys to come back onto the earth after the earth is sort of cleansed, we'll say. And then the mushrooms come back first, and then everyone kind of grows off of the mushrooms. But mushrooms are fascinating, but also delicious, and not a plant or an animal. A little bit of both. All right, so the mushroom caps you can just leave whole, and I'm simply just popping them out. I like to give my mushrooms a little rinse if I'm going to be cooking them soon. You can also just brush any dirt kind of stuff off of them, but I don't mind giving them a little rinse, and then I pat them dry before I utilize them. So there's a few mushrooms. You know, of course, the recipe calls for more, but as always, we're on the move here. Next, asparagus. Good time of the year for asparagus, right? So half a bunch of asparagus. With the asparagus, here I'm pulling half a bunch. There's a couple things to show you here. Again, just like with your herbs, a neat way to keep the asparagus nice and fresh is a little bit of water in a jar. And then with any bunch of asparagus, they're all going to be, they've been close. So theoretically, their stems should be pretty close into where there's like the woody part, right? So you can find a larger asparagus or two, and you can see where it snaps off, and you can see those two snapped off really evenly. So I know that that's pretty much where that woody area ends. And so I can line up my other guys, right? So again, snap, and I can see, so those three guys, asparagus, I should say, those three asparagus are lined up like that. And then you just can run your blade across the rest, and that way saves you some time into looking into each one. And then once the ends are cut, you can keep them in your jar of water like that in the refrigerator, and they'll last quite some time. And just like with flowers, where you kind of trim the ends and they're going to absorb water, giving them a little trim is a good thing. And that'll keep your asparagus nice and crispy, which is a good thing. Okay, so we've got our asparagus, and you could also throw some green onions, which I don't have with me at the moment, and the recipe says asparagus or green onions. Go crazy, do both. I think that's what we've done in this photo. It's just total chaos, asparagus and green onions. But I don't have any with me, but I would take some green onions and throw them in there as well. And just, watch the green onions as you're grilling, because they'll want to slip through the grill. But of course, not if you've got a grill like this, which is no holes in it, no space. Now the potatoes. So this is a really interesting concept, and we're going to grill the potatoes and just get really good flavor, some nice texture, like a barbecue potato chip, the real deal, right? So I usually will not recommend slicing a potato just like that across. But here we're looking at an aesthetic kind of thing, and we want those, and sometimes you want those circular slices of potato, and we want them thin. And the reason I say I wouldn't recommend that is I always like to get a nice solid handle. Now there is a one thing we could do to make it a little safer, a lot safer really, is to cut a little piece off, and that gives you a base. And then we can use the claw, right? And this way your potato is really stable, and it really doesn't affect our circle, is still perfect. So there's safety and beauty all together. It's a marvelous thing when we can be safe and beautiful, and we should all take a moment to appreciate that. Okay, moment's over. I think we have another question.
Can you talk about what is a waxy potato
Ooh,
versus other types of potato?
yeah, well, this is a waxy potato. It's, if you can rub it on your skin and you get a nice coat of wax, no, I'm joking, you rub it on your surfboard, no, again, a joke. But a waxy potato is like a yellow potato, a red potato, a purple potato. And what that it's going to have, they're almost a little bit stickier than a normal like starchy potato, like a russet, something along those lines. That, but really, a waxy potato means, yeah, like a red potato, maybe some sorts of like the small like baby potatoes. They're red, purple, those types of potatoes.
Yukon Gold.
Yukon Gold, and that's what I've got here. And Yukon Gold is ideal for this, and easy to find, and that I definitely recommend that for waxy potato, or a nice red potato will work for you. And so I'm just cutting these really thin, and so the thinner the better here, because of course we're grilling them. And so You know, with the grill, as with all the cooking, we want things to cook that are going on at the same time. We want them to cook at an even rate. So we, yeah, I'm just going to cut the potato thinner because I know a potato takes a little bit longer to cook than, say, a bell pepper. And so by having a little bit thicker piece of bell pepper and a thinner piece of potato, I'm in good shape. And for the end here, I'm just have it down and I'm cutting across away from myself and keeping my fingers out of the way. And I don't know if you're a mandolin type person, this would be a good thing for the mandolin. If I'm doing large amounts of stuff, I do occasionally use the mandolin, but you know, I very carefully. It's kind of scary, right? But I think that it's really nice for getting a lot of thin slices. And the mandolin is just that deal with the blade and you push your produce across. Okay, so we have to prepare the vegetables. They're in the bowl. We're going to add salt, pepper, and oil. And again, you will be doing more vegetables than this, but I just want to give you a little sampling. So let's go for it with, I like to put my oil on first here. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1.5 teaspoons of our neutral oil. So there's 1 teaspoon, and here's the 1/2 teaspoon. And I'm going to be using this avocado oil. And just throw 1.5 teaspoons. And of course, this is, I just realized as I was doing that, probably too much oil for this amount of vegetables because, but really you just want enough that it's going to coat, lightly coat everything. And, but these will be really nice and lubricated. They won't stick one bit, I say. And that is the goal with the oiling of the vegetables is we're looking for them not to stick to our grill, right? So then the salt and the pepper, black pepper and salt, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, again, kosher salt denoted here as coarse salt. And that's just really trying to differentiate it from, and then 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, brown black pepper. And that's just trying to differentiate it from table salt. Really, table salt is not ideal for cooking with because you can get things over salted really easily. You have a lot of control with the kosher salt. And again, you can actually taste the sodium a lot quicker with kosher salt because of its molecular shape. It has a lot of holes in it from the cooking and it just breaks down immediately, whereas a table salt will slow release, and so you will keep salting and salting it. And once again, you know, after saying that, I probably could have cut down on the salt, but for because I'm doing less vegetables, right? So, but these will be nice and salty. Okay, so here we go. We've got our grill preheated. I have this grill smoking hot. And I have my skewers all nice and soaked, so hopefully they won't catch on fire. And if they do, and a vampire enters the room, they're going to get a flaming steak through the heart, and then I'm going to pour a garlic sauce over their head. And then they'll be sorry that they came into this kitchen. Okay. So where was I? Vampire talks got me all crazy. Oh yeah, let's skewer up some chicken real quick. So we have our chicken. And I've got a nice little plate. And then again, just because this is a messy operation and I don't have a sink I can get to easily in here in front of you, I'm going to use the handy glove again. So you can see our chicken, and of course it hasn't been 4 hours, and hopefully it hasn't felt like 4 hours for everyone out there. It's felt like an eternity for me. I'm so hungry. No, soon we'll be eating, and by some miracle, sometimes called the magic of television. So you've got your deal here, and you just want to take, and by deal I mean chicken thigh that's been cut. And by chicken thigh, I mean Aurora Valley organic chicken, available at Basics Markets. Come grab some today. Man, it's good. And I'm saying that kind of in a funny way, but I really mean it. It is some great chicken. Okay, local, fresh, and free range. Okay, so you can see how I skewered that on, and what I like to do with the skewer is kind of weave it on there a little bit. So I'm not just going flat on. I kind of go back and forth a couple of times, and you get this. You can kind of see on the top angle there. We've got a little bit of a wave, and again, that's just so when we get into this grilling, it's going to grill for us at a nice even temperature. And even though that there's kind of different shapes going on here, we have basically the same thickness, and that thickness is what's going to give us the even grill. So this is kind of a shorter skewer because it fits perfectly on this little grill. But if you have longer skewers and you're using a large grill or Weber, whatever, use a longer skewer, and then you can get more on one skewer, and then you don't have as many skewers to handle. But if you enjoy the short skewer, use a short skewer. Do what you will. Okay, so let's see, let's just do one more.
Could you use metal skewers?
Yes, and of course you can use metal skewers, and then you don't have to soak those unless you want to, and then people will just look at you weird and be like, okay, and then you can say, well, I'm making a special mineral water with this metal skewer, which was unearthed from an archaeology dig where there were vampires because they weren't wooden skewers. Yes, another question.
I wanted to know if you could use chicken breast. Would that dry out too much? I think you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, and chicken breast. Of course, you can use it, and one, let's say the advantage to chicken breast is it is kind of really easy to get uniform shapes out of chicken breast. It cuts up really nice, easy to handle in that way. It has a lower fat content. So with the chicken breast, that's what you want to do. It will tend to dry out. So you want to really keep an eye on it. And then of course, as with that, I always like to mention, have a good thermometer handy. This is a little digital thermometer. You can pick these up like $12, I think, for an inexpensive one, up to, I don't know, $50 for an expensive one. But they all do the same thing, which is get the temperature of your meat. And this one even has a really cool little thing telling you all the different kinds of meat and where you want it. And chicken is 165, which poultry, and here it is, 165. So you want to get your chicken up to 165, and then it's done. And this chicken will be amazingly tender for you. And even the breast, although it might dry out, if you take it too far beyond that 165, it, it will still be really tender. And then, of course, just use more of your garlic sauce because you have quite a bit here, right? So that was a great question earlier. Someone asked, like, how long will that last? And I told them 7 days for sure in the refrigerator covered. And because you have a lot of sauce here, so if you don't use all that sauce, throw it in the refrigerator. So what I'm doing here, you could do this a couple ways. If you want to do all your chicken first, this is all depending upon the grilling equipment you're using. If you have enough space to, like, you have a nice big gas grill or big Weber, whatever, and you have space for chicken and veggies, you can do them simultaneously. They'll both take about 10 minutes on the grill. And what I'm just going to throw a few things down here so we have a little variety. But you get the idea. It's a mixed, whoa, and that mushroom, like I mentioned, mushrooms are neither a plant nor an animal, and that one just jumped off right out of my hand. So apparently, even if you take the stem off, they can still walk. So keep that in mind. And also, you can hear it scream a little bit when it hits the grill, and it sounds like a sound. All right. So we've got the variety of veggies going there, including, of course, our thinly sliced potatoes. And I think we have another question. What do we got?
Rosabelle would like to know what brand the thermometer is.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. This thermometer is a CDN, and I've worked forever in commercial kitchens and things, and I see that brand a lot. I really don't have a preference. It's kind of like, whatever I can get my hands on, but CDN seems to be a good, consistent brand, and they just go forever. And they do have, they take a little coin battery, like one of those coin batteries, lasts a long, long time. But yeah, this is a CDN, and I think CDN, I've also ordered these for kitchens. It's usually what you can get from food service companies, distribution companies. They have all different varieties of CDN from, that sort of price range I mentioned earlier, from 12, 14 bucks up to like 50 bucks. But yeah, I'd say this is a $15 model. Totally worth it. Good to have. And then you just know you're safe with your meat. You're not going to be eating salmonella. And so that's always good. And I shouldn't be using I have a terrible habit of using my fingers on the grill, and I do get burned. So I don't know why I can't stay away from the flame, but use some tongs. Be safe and beautiful. Yes.
Could you, if you were using an outdoor grill, could you do the vegetables on one of those grill things with like holes on it? They sell those grill pans for the grill.
Yeah, we have a question. I think that's a question about if you're grilling on a nice big grill, can you throw the veggies in a grill basket? I think that's what that deal is called. And yeah, that'd be a great way to go, because with those grill baskets, when you have a variety like this, quite a variety of shapes and sizes, you can get them all in there. You can flip them over. Pretty neat. I don't know what the grill marks are like with one of those, but you know what? Grill marks on everything if it's cooked. That's the important part, right? Okay, but speaking of grill marks, this mushroom has some nice ones. Am I right? Yeah. So that's sort of where we're at. I like I mentioned before, I have some. Oh boy, I did brush this, but I could have brushed it a little more apparently. That's what spatulas are for. And luckily I've got one right here. So let's see where we're at. This grill, this situation, it tends to be nice and hot in the center. So that's another thing. You can see how well done. See this one that was in the center is compared to this guy on the side. It's not really cooking. So that's a good lesson in finding your hot spots on your grill. If you're using a coal grill, you can bank your coals, you can move them around and really control where the hot spots are and utilize those. I think we have another question.
If you don't happen to have a grill, could you bake these or broil them in the oven?
Oh yeah, so I did, thank you for that question. The question is, if you don't have a grill, can we bake these or broil them in the oven? Sure, you know, I bake them. I'd say I go around, I want to say 375. If you have a convection oven, an air fryer, you know, that would do well. Again, you just want to watch for the overcooking and keep an eye on them, but that would go pretty quick. I would want to say 15, check them at 10, 15 minutes, and it might go up to 20 minutes. You just want to hit that 165. You could definitely do this like a sheet pan meal kind of thing. It would be great. So, you know, sheet pan, just one of these guys. Throw your veggies, a little bit of oil down or parchment paper, throw all your veggies on there, throw your chicken skewers. You know, you might end up pulling your veggies off earlier than the chicken. And what I do, like when I have this situation, like here where I have this little skillet grill thing, you know, it can tend to take a minute too long to grill this stuff. So I could just take this whole thing after I've got my marks that I want on here and got that nice caramelization, which I would like to point out is happening with that yogurt. If the sugars are getting a little bit burnt, which gives a really great flavor, really good caramelization. I just take this, I could take this whole thing and just pop it in the oven and finish it, you know, after I you know, or if I get impatient, like standing here moving the things, but also it's kind of fun to move things around on the grill. So that all depends on your timing and your equipment, but for sure you could just pop this in the oven and it'll be great. I don't know that I go broiler with it because that might be just a little too intense. Bake, roast, convention roast, air fry. I use the air fryer a lot like that for roasting vegetables and meats. It's basically just a good, strong convection setting on most on appliances that have that. So let us have a look at this thing, and more than the look, let's have a taste, okay? So without further ado, let's pull this guy. I did. So I did just that, what we were talking about. I pre-grilled a little bit, and then I finished these guys off in the oven. So I have some really lovely skewers of chicken here. Aurora Valley chicken thighs. Only the best. So, yeah, and you can see I'm just turning this, turning all these guys over, and turning the fun guys over, and everything else. And I should, every time I burn my finger, I'm like, oh yeah, tongs exist, utilize them. Yay, tongs. Okay, now it's getting exciting, right? We're getting to the plating of the dish. So here you can get creative, use your color palette. and plate this sucker up. And you know, these potatoes, they're getting there. They're you know, ideally, if I didn't just have like 1 minute left here with you, I would let them go longer, but all this, you know, it's a little early, but you get the idea, and it's quite beautiful. I would say, and we do have some grill marks going, so that's cool. This stuff's just got a couple more minutes there. So here is the plate. Here is the sauce. So we can just sauce this a little bit. And then of course you'll have extra sauce. You know, this is it's all about you, how you want to present this. You can just have the sauce on the table, let people eat, you know, take what they want off a big platter of this stuff and have the sauce. Use flatbreads. You know, this would be really nice in a good flatbread, and you can go to town with a nice flatbread, and it will be like a shawarma. Maybe get a little bit of, I like a hot sauce, like even like a sriracha, if I'm doing that. Some pickles, and yeah, good stuff. But really, all that being said, I don't want to take away from this garlic sauce is really all you need. So let's, I just get carried away with thinking of shawarma. Let's give the chicken a taste. Wow. Best thing I've eaten all day. It's fabulous. And yeah, it was really nice. And as I mentioned, super tender. So please do try out this recipe. Try the Aurora Valley organic chicken. Come to more culinary classes. These are free, they're fun. And we're doing more. We have next week, we're doing a scones. I have a really great scone recipe I would love to share with you, utilizing berries, seasonal berries. We're into berry season around here. You can pick your own berries. Blueberries are going, I think. And then we've got, after that, a nutrition class about smoothie bowls and beyond. So that sounds exciting and intriguing. And then we've got a class on the next month on the 11th, grilled chicken over peanut noodles, really nice kind of Asian deal. And then after that, a strawberry olive oil cake, an elegant cake for your summer garden parties. Hey, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Again, my name is Sam. I'm a chef. I'm a culinary mentor. I work out of Basics Market, a great place to shop. We have 4 locations right now. Sandy Boulevard in Portland, Capitol Highway in Hillsdale. We have a store in downtown Portland on Lovejoy and 13th. And then we have a meat market, which is in Beaverton on Canyon Road, with all kinds of amazing meats grown by us, or raised by us. And please visit one of these locations, try out our stuff, check out our in-house brands, and as always, happy cooking and cook happily.